Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to everyone. As for today, our group will be presenting a short story about The Big Two-Hearted River by Ernest Hemingway. I am Nur Azmina binti Aminah Baki and this is my group members. Nur Shafika binti Syaiful Azli, Nur Atira Balkis binti Muhammad Azlan and Nur Shafika binti Muhammad Shahril. So, I will be presenting about the setting. Setting is the time frame or location in which the story took place in. The time period for the story is after the World War One. The location is at a river near Sydney, Michigan. Moving along with the plot, the first one is exposition. Exposition is the beginning of the story that provide readers with the background information of the story. The story here begins with a man named Nick who just got off the train, but there was no town inside, nothing but just the burnt over country in Sydney and the rails. From here, we could know that Sydney got burned down and Nick have been to Sydney before or he had lived there before the World War One. Moving with the rising action. Rising action is everything that happened in the story that leads up to the climax. Here, Nick appears to be taking a nice fishing trip at Sydney as a way to escape from something unpleasant. Something unpleasant here means his memories of the World War One, and he also seems to be emotionally fragile and is preoccupied with things like how heavy his bag is. The author wrote this to explain that the discomfort of his back is a way for him to distract himself from his previous memories of the World War One. He then continues with his journey to the fishing spot. The fishing spot is where the climax begins. Climax is a part of the story where the character faces a conflict. Here, Nick went fishing at the river. He then saw a big trout, but he failed to catch it. The loss of the trout was just too much to him that his hand was shaking. He also felt vaguely a little sick, as though as it would be better to sit down. Next is the falling action. Falling action is everything that had happened after the climax but before the resolution. Here, after Nick loses his big catch, he got over with his disappointment and continues to fish and finally caught two new trout. So he decided that it was a great day to wrap up as he had already caught the two new trouts. So lastly is the resolution. Resolution is the ending of the story. When the story is ending, Nick momentarily faces a new crisis when he considered to fish at the swamp but then realized how dangerous fishing there would be. So he decided that the swamp is a challenge for another day. The story ends up with the sentence as there are plenty of days coming where he could fish the swamp. So that is all from me. I will pass it to the next presenter.
Assalamualaikum and greetings to everyone. My name is Nur Shafika binti Saiful Azli. Now I will proceed with the characters of this short story. Nick Adams is the protagonist or main character of this short story. It was presumed that he was a soldier that had come back from uh, a war. This presumption has been made because of the conditions of Sydney, his presumed to be hometown, that had been burnt off the ground. And although his hometown, his presumed to be hometown, Sydney in Michigan, had been in ruins, had been burnt off, he still kept traveling into the town with a heavy bag on his back and a leather rod in his hand. He walked up the hill sweating and his back aching. he still kept on walking and walking until he got to the spot or the place that he had targeted in his mind. From this action itself, it shows that this character is a very determined person. He has a determination characteristic in his self. Um, and other than that, Nick is also an active person due to a particular scene where he was taking a short nap on the way to his, on the way to his journey to go to the one spot that he had targeted. He had taken a short nap, and right after he had taken that short nap, he immediately woke up and went straight into going to that one spot. So, in my opinion, that shows that this character is a very active person. Um, this character also has a quiet characteristic, um, as he only has spoken 2 times in this short story. One time he spoke to a grasshopper he found on the way to the river, and the other time he spoke to himself, and he found that his voice sounds weird, so he didn't want to speak again after that. Uh, Nick can also be shown as a complacent but wise person. Uh, this is because he had seen a big trout fish, but at that time he had already caught a smaller trout fish, so he had decided to let the big trout fish go because um, he thought that it took too much energy for him to catch the bigger one. Uh, and next, the significance. Significance. Oh, okay. The significance of this character for this story is that he is literally the only character that the short story is written about. Aside aside from that, the character had actually shown a few survival skills to the readers regarding living in the wild. And there had not been much story of the main character's past being told in the short story. Therefore, Nick Adams is really an important character in this short story. Mm, Next, the second character. Okay, Hopkins. The second character that has been shown in this story is Hopkins. Hopkins is a person that Nick Adams had thought of in the middle of his coffee making. Uh, while he was making a cup of coffee, if I'm not mistaken, a cup of coffee, he had thought of the way Hopkins has made his coffee. It's stated in the book that Hopkins was a serious character. Other than that, Hopkins was presumably one of the soldiers that was in the same squad with Nick Adams, alongside with Bill, who was mentioned only once in the short story. And from the tone of Nick Adams' descriptions of Hopkins, he had admired Hopkins actually, because Hopkins is a generous person, as he had given his own gun to Nick. It was also described that Hopkins came from a rich family. However, Nick and him had separated due to perhaps a mission that he had granted on. And after that, when they had gotten separated, after that, they've Hopkins was never to be heard again by Nick Adams. Therefore, Hopkins in the short story is presumed to have died. Next, the significance of Hopkins in this short story. Yes. Okay. The significance of this character is the fact that without the mention of this character, we would not know this small piece of information about Nick Adams' past, of him being a soldier. Um, Hopkins is also a character that Neat had thought of in a good, natural way. Even if even if the thought was in a somber thought, but it was in a good way. To Nick Adams. I think that's it from me. Thank you for listening.
Okay, my name is Akira and I will explain the theme in this short story. Okay, the first theme in this short story is nature. The first point is whenever Nick needs a quiet place to reflect, he looks to nature for inspirations. The second point is nature performs a crucial position in Nick's life as an escape from the everyday conflict he experiences and faces. For example, one of the few times in the short story where Nick is happy and at peace with himself is when he is by the river. And the third point is nature also allows Nick to explore his inner thoughts and emotions. For example, as Nick makes his way to the river, he is surrounded by nature which reminds him of his experiences during the war. However, nature in the story does not always make Nick feel safe. When confronted with aspects of nature that are uncontrollable, Nick feels struggle with his emotions. Okay, so the second theme is the inevitability of change. Okay, the first point is the change confronts Nick. For example, in the story, when he arrived in Saini on a solo fishing trip, he discovered that the town has burned to the ground since his last visit. The town and houses have been completely destroyed. And the second point is by taking a fishing trip in the outside of Saini, Nick attempts to return to a pre-war past, but the story emphasizes the impossibility of this since change is everywhere around him. The third point is Nick confronts with reminders of how the war has altered the world around him. Nick is attempting to return to his pre-war past in search of some semblance of consistency. However, reminders of the war appear all around him, implying that the war has profoundly changed the world and that Nick is unable to escape this fact. Okay, the last one. This short story third theme contrasts physical pain with emotional suffering. The first point is he prefers physical discomfort, even seek it out, to distract himself from his emotional suffering, which are harder for him to face. For example, Nick is wary of emotions, implying that his mental scars are so deep and unmanageable that he does not attempt to confront them. Nick also avoids painful emotion by remembering his friend Hopkins, who went away when the telegram came and whom he never saw again. And the last point is Nick put himself in a situation where he must encounter physical discomfort. The discomfort of his physical struggle distracts Nick from the need to think, and this makes him happy. Though the environment softens as the story progresses, Nick seems to intentionally put himself in a situation where he must encounter physical discomfort so it can distract him from his thoughts. Okay, that's all from me.
Hi everyone, my name is Nushafika binti Muhammad Sharin and I will be talking about the like and dislike of me and my group members on this short story. So first we'll look into the likes. Firstly is Nick Adams' determination on accomplishing something. Alright, so as readers, we find it motivated on his determination on accomplishing something. So as readers, we feel motivated on activating our self to accomplish what we want or what we desire. Next, we learn some knowledge on tobacco juice, where tobacco juice is also the spit of grasshopper as a form of defense mechanism. Next is Nick Adams' knowledge on types of fishing. For instance, Nick's first catch is too small, so he removes the hook and throws it back. When we read on to the short story, we get to know that before he touches the trout, he wets his hand because he knows that if a trout was touched with a dry hand, white fungus attack the unprotected spot. This emphasizes that Nick has knowledge on the types of fishing. Next of the story, there is also some dislike. As new readers on this short story, without any prior knowledge about the author or about this story, we would not be able to understand the deeper meaning of this story. So first of the dislike is the story is tedious to read. It is too long and slow for readers like us. Next is there are so many questions that were not answered. For instance, the inadequate background story on Nick's past. As readers, we really want to know what happened to him that made him isolate himself from the world, but it was not mentioned in the short story. Last but not least is the insufficient of characters throughout the story. From the beginning till the end, the author only focused on the main character, which is Nick Adam, and there were not many characters in this short story, even though there was the character Hopkins as the second character, but that character was not much concentrated in the story, and as readers we could not define what actually happened to him in the end, because as mentioned in page 186, they never saw Hopkins, so we don't know what happened to him. Is he dead or did he went missing? So this is the likes and dislikes of us for this short story. So overall, to conclude, this short story written by Ernest Hemingway is overall about the journey of Nick to the fishing spot. That's all from us. Thank you.